Hey everybody, Mark McNutt here, coming to you from Upper Deadwood, Oregon, and Deadwood Creek. And so I'm going to give you the astrological update for this very busy month, which happens to be correspond with the month of October. I always do it new moon to new moon, and so this it's the new moon in Libra when the sun and moon are in the same sign. And this month, very busy month because we have a solar eclipse on the new moon. It's always on the new moon. And then we have also we have like a second moon. We have a comet that's trailing with visibility and all that. That's going to be in our orb as well, which should make for an interesting effect. So we had that new moon, we got the solar eclipse, we got the comet, we have a lot going on, and there's an awful lot of aspects going on as well. Aspects are like the mathematical angles or resonant angles, like kind of like the magnetism of one planet to another that follows geometric lines. So basically, when one planet is really near to another one in orb, like a third apart, a half apart, a quarter apart, it creates various aspects. And so there's a lot of aspects going on, which means a busy life. So we can expect a whole whack of changes this month. I know many of you would like me to talk about the election, and I know that informally, I'd be happy to, but I don't really like to taint my astrological information with something that would really important. You know, I want to focus on the individuals rather than some individuals that might affect our lives a little bit down the line. So sorry about that, but maybe we can, chat informally about that sometime. And anyway. And one reason I don't talk about that subject so much is because I do have opinions. And now, as far as astrology, I love it because it's a pure science and it's a good way of measuring things, and I can step back as a human and look at what's going on and apply that to all of the rest of you humans, because I love humans. I love to see how they react to these energies. So we're very stimulated right now. Yes, there's a solar eclipse, October 2nd, basically late morning after sunrise, depending on where you live and all that. If you live in South America, it's going to be an annular eclipse, like the wedding ring style, where there's a ring of the sun around the moon, the dark sphere of the moon. Up here in the northern hemisphere, we're going to get some kind of a partial eclipse, maybe a darkening of the skies. It's not like, oh, put on your special glasses and look at it. It's just like, just feel it. So out here on the west coast, it's going to be about 11 a.m. and then, just right after sunrise on the east coast. So just feel the vibe of that. And what happens is the new moon starts with the middle of that eclipse. So you have actually the dark moon right before that, and then the new moon, and the lunar month carries on from there. What's significant about that is the time, usually a couple of days before the new moon, any month tends to be a little bit emotionally agitated and sometimes troubling and all that. So, there could be some very intense energies in the air, which then theoretically get resolved. There's a place for them to go once the new moon happens on October 2nd. And so if you've been feeling funny and agitated lately, that you're not alone. There's a lot of that going around. New moon in Libra. Libra, first of all, we just had the fall equinox, and equinox means equal night. So, which is implied if you have equal night, then you have equal day. Oh, look, a kitten. So at the equinox, which happens twice a year, day and night are equal, and it's a power time. It's a time, in this case, of northern hemisphere shifting to the nighttime energy. So even though it's not summertime right now, I was inspired by my cats to put out the sunflowers here. So this would be actually more pertinent to the Leo time of the year of Lunasa, but right now we're at Mabon, which is the fall equinox, and that's a power time too. But since it's kind of like the last hurrah for the sun around here, and the way I present astrology, I'm here on Earth, and we're looking up at the stars, and we're feeling that energy and what that means to us. And so, being here on Earth, I want to resonate with life here on Earth. So feet on the ground, head in the stars, and anyone that actually knows me personally would be like, "Yep, that's Mark, all right." So it's a time of balance, and the fall equinox and the sun going into Libra is the sign of balance, and the sign of a natural equilibrium in all things. And so the balance gets tipped at this time of year, but it's very subtle, and but probably not so subtle this year because, again, solar eclipse. Not really visible up here, but remember that one in April is pretty fantastic. Over the next week or so, right after the new moon, the comet spins around the sun and becomes more and more visible between October 4th and October 11th. Meanwhile, at about the same time, we have all kinds of aspects such as Mars trine Venus, Mars square Sun, Mars square Mercury, Sun trine Jupiter, Jupiter going into retrograde, and a full moon, and so a lot between right now, the very beginning of October and the middle of October. There's going to be a lot of movement right now, like a reshuffling of the deck, and it means different things to different people. Because if you're a Gemini, it's going to mean a very different thing than if you're, say, a Cancer or a Capricorn or whatever. And of course, I don't practice sun sign astrology. It's just too general. I like to be accurate rather than entertaining, although I'd love to be both, But between the two, I prefer accuracy. So get your personal reading. And what a great time for this, because the energy is shifting right now. And then, yes, there's going to be an election coming up right after the new moon in Scorpio, as it is every year. And every year it's the sun in Scorpio's election day in the U.S. And this year it's right after the new moon. So there's a new beginnings that happens right after that. What does that mean? I'd rather not talk about that right now. Take me out for a beer or something like that, and we'll talk about it, okay? But I'd rather focus on astrology and what it means to you. So this is a time, as I mentioned, reshuffling the deck. It's a time when opportunities can present themselves. It's a time to really pay attention to the energy of right now and being in the moment. Sometimes there's like overwhelming fixed signs going on, and things are sort of sealed in stone and hard to move energy. Well, this is the opposite right now. This is a time when sudden change could happen. It's a time when a lot of surprises are in store. Uranus isn't necessarily moving very quickly, but the effects are coming from other planets such as Jupiter, Mars being in Cancer right now. And the sun and moon are conjunct Mercury even as I speak. So Mercury is going to shift from being rising right before the sun to right after the sun. So not going to be visible for a bit. And the show that I'm talking about, outside of seeing the asteroid, it's not so much a visual show that we're looking at. In terms of the asteroid, it ends up being zipping around the sun there, and then will come out in front of the sun, doing the opposite of what Mercury's doing. And that's really going to affect things. And I'm not actually sure how to describe that except a magnanimous effect that really makes a difference. It's like an added spice or whatever. Hard to predict because the last time this happened was 60,000 years ago that we had this particular 25 mile in diameter object zipping around the sun. Some of the asteroids have a very long revolution like that. So as far as a particular asteroid and what it means, it's all different, and it all has to do with their trajectory and what day it is. But it sure affects things, you know, because basically the magnetite in any of these stellar bodies stimulates the magnetite in our brain. And that's why retrogrades are so important. You know, it doesn't matter that we're just doing laps around the sun. What matters is, as seen from the Earth, we have this effect. Mercury, so Mercury is going conjunct the sun and moon, very mental time. It's a time to interact. It's a very social time. It's a time to access your inner sunflower and shine while the shining is good. And love to do your personal reading. I think it is a stellar time for that sort of thing. And so find the balance in your life. Remember what you've left out and find the way to rebalance that. And the key is in the stars. So I've handed you the key, and now you can unlock it for yourself, or contact me or some other reputable, awesome person to do it for you. Okay, wishing you well. Happy fall equinox and happy eclipse and happy second moon for a month. Enjoy.